The man was shocked to find the stairs of his house filled with smoke. He tentatively reached out with his right hand and picked up a wisp of smoke, then put it to his nose and smelled it. Although the gas was colorless and odorless, he knew that once a large amount of this aversion was inhaled it would kill him instantly. But this also strengthened the man's determination to go onward. As the poison slowly rose, the man felt more and more in danger. He broke away from his comfort zone above with the few remaining oxygen tanks he had left. He quickly walked down from the 28th floor, but just as he arrived downstairs, the man was horrified by the horrible scene in front of him. 100 corpses lay motionless on the ground. All of them were foaming at the mouth and had gone to heaven. The man knew that these people had died from inhaling the haze. His right hand subconsciously reached for the mask over his mouth, feeling the safety of the oxygen tank behind him. His trembling heart slowly calmed down. However, every time he took a step, he had to watch his feet carefully. He was afraid that he might step on the bodies on the ground. Until the rescue team appeared, the man realized that he was finally saved. But he learned from them that the city had been completely destroyed by the smoke. The government has ordered the city to be sealed off. Everyone must leave the city as soon as possible. Seeing the man's rudimentary oxygen tank, the rescue team immediately replaced it with a brand new one. Then they asked him to follow the team, but the man hesitated for a while and then refused the team's offer because his family was waiting for him upstairs. The team would not stay with the man, but before leaving, the team gave him a set of life-saving oxygen equipment. When the man returned to the 28th floor, he senses that the haze is rising as fast as the eye can see. This also means the couple can't stay here. Now with 2 sets of oxygen cylinders, they can leave anytime they want, but their next-door neighbor and their daughter in the medical bay on the 2nd floor are a liability. So the men decide to head downtown to the lab for help. Before leaving, they came to the 2nd floor to say goodbye to their daughter. But when they found out what their parents were up to, she gave them another problem: to visit a friend who suffers from the same disease as her. But with little oxygen left, the man refused his daughter's request.
Maman, si c'était l'inverse, t'aimerais pas que ses parents le fassent pour moi?
The daughter's question made the parents hesitant. They had no choice but to agree. With the help of the oxygen tanks, they soon arrived at the laboratory. They found a few sets of equipment and the protective clothing their daughter needed. After that, the two of them quickly left the premises. Then they went to the boy's house according to the address given by the daughter. But just as they started to look for the presence of anyone, an accident occurred. There was an explosion of some kind, but the horrible aftermath still knocked the man unconscious. When he woke up again, he realized that the sensation of his breathing had suddenly become abnormal. He struggled to remove the mask from his face. It turned out that the oxygen tank's wiring had been blown off. He could only remove the mask first. Then he held his breath and stayed in a state of not being able to breathe. Along the way, the husband and wife could only share one oxygen tank. Finally, when they couldn't hold on any longer, they dragged several dozen pounds of equipment to the top floor of the building. But to their despair, even the remaining oxygen bottles are about to run out. Now only one of them can make it back. The husband, as a man, decided to give his wife the chance to survive. Although he was reluctant to give up, he thought that his daughter was still in danger and she could only take the case with her and leave. In order to save the little oxygen she had, she started to run fast, but the more she ran, the more she breathed. By the time she arrived at the bottom of the building, the oxygen in her tank had finally run out. Looking at the door of her home, she held her breath. Then she immediately took off her belongings. She dragged her suitcase through the floors with great difficulty. Eventually, she managed to make it to the upper floors through her own perseverance. However, the moment she opened the box of equipment, she saw the damaged protective clothing. After all this work and risking her husband's life, all she got was a pile of rags. This scene brought the wife to the brink of collapse, but then the ringing of her cell phone woke her up. The cell phone indicated that her daughter's medical bay was low on battery power. With her husband gone, she was at a loss, but she couldn't stand by and watch her daughter die. So the wife decided to go back to save her daughter. After arriving at the stairway, she started to breathe greedily. Then she held her breath and rushed down without hesitation. She didn't dare to wait a second. She came to the 2nd floor, seeing her mother without an oxygen mask. Her daughter was also very anxious, but she didn't have time to explain. She could only change the backup battery as fast as she could. When the machine was running again, she looked at her daughter fondly and said, "Goodbye," for the last time. Unfortunately, his wife collapsed on the ground on the way back. David, who was still unaware of the situation, was also in danger.